Hello. So, yeah, everyone introduce yourself. I'm Ben Booth, I'm the CEO of MaxContact. So, what I'll start with today is, firstly, why are you listening to me? I've been in the industry not 135, but 125 years, I'll say. We came from outbound engagement. So, CX outbound engagement is becoming more and more, it's on the up, it's on the rise, and it's one of the most valuable channels that contact centers are getting wrong. Got some names up there so you can see we've got some pedigree of who we work with. Something personal on there, so I was into powerlifting. That just means I'm injured all the time. I do have 2 cats and a wife, and the cats run the household, but the injuries don't come from powerlifting, they come from paddle, most dangerous sport in the world. Okay, so what we did, this isn't about us, this is about 2 reports we ran. So we do a consumer report, which is the voice of the consumer, and we do a report from business leaders who work in the industry. And there was 3 areas that the data keeps coming back to. And number 1, specifically in outbound engagement, is it's getting harder. So connect rates are down. Less than 50% of dials we make get answered by consumers that we're trying to talk to. And then when we do get those important moments, those conversations, the outcomes are down year on year. So we'll get onto that later because we've just talked about AI and technology, and I'm sure you'll hear about it all day. But the end result is we're not getting positive outcomes. So why is that? Then we move on to the AI ambition of contact centers. So this is the business leaders. The great thing is 99% believe that AI can produce more value in their contact center than they're using today. But only 41% are using it for more than 1 use case. That means we've got a 58-point gap on contact centers' intent to use AI versus deployment. And what's happening there is they're not joining up the pieces. So they're finding those simple use cases, they're getting immediate value, and then it's almost stalling, and they're not rolling it out further around the business. And the main reason that the leaders say that is data fragmentation. So the systems aren't joined up, the data isn't ready. Very simple examples is you want to use it for your knowledge, for inbound FAQs. Did you keep your knowledge base up to date? In our own businesses, how many versions of a client do you have around your business? In your support desk, in your accountancy software, wherever else, like your client exists in about 4 or 5 locations and it's not joined up giving the true picture. And then the second reason is security concerns. So more and more frequently, I think we're all seeing probably in RFPs, data sovereignty is top of the list. I got asked yesterday, do we use DeepSeek? Because it's a Chinese model, and we shouldn't be using Chinese models. We do not use DeepSeek. But you can see the concerns are growing, and as this time it's the first time it's been so far up the list. So they're the 3 things that come out, and that was from the business leaders. To move on to the consumers, what the consumers are telling us is they are screening calls. And we'll get onto this to the next slide. So calls are screened. So it's getting harder and harder to speak to the customers we want to speak to. When AI takes over, clients feel there's a bit of mistrust because they're not told. We already know regulations coming in where you'll have to tell people. That's a good thing because the consumers are telling us they don't mind using AI as long as they're aware they're using AI. And the third is in the moments that matter, we're still failing. So resolution is not recognition on a positive outcome. And what's happening too much in how we measure is we're potentially solving the customer's problem, but they haven't had still a good customer experience. So we're getting a green tick on the board where actually they're feeling like they've been let down or not been heard, and it's a red as far as the consumer's concerned. So on to it. So, I've jumped ahead. Where's my other one gone? I'm missing a slide. So the first one, which is, I don't know where it's gone, before the call, what it's showing is I've been to numerous events whereby one of the hottest topics was spam and brand number credibility. Because your AI voice agents don't work if the people don't pick up. And what's happening is people are rejecting calls more. Your mobile phone manufacturers are marking you as spam, so Apple and Samsung. The mobile carriers are marking you as spam if you're making too many calls, and the network operators can mark you as spam. And it can take as little as 5 calls for that to happen. Now, we come from outbound, so we live this every day. One thing that's not happening in the data is we're measuring connect rates, and that's good, but we're not measuring the penetration of did I ever speak to someone. So I don't know how many of you are having conversations about AI call screening with Apple, and we've heard numbers as it's up to 40% of all calls. It's not. It's not 40% of all calls. It's 40% of the calls you're making, but it's not 40% of the people you're calling. And what we need to start measuring is the penetration of data or people over its lifetime so we can get hold of them. So that number is a bit misleading, but what is happening and what contact centers haven't done enough of, which is this slide, is evolve. So if you go into a pure outbound sales contact center, contact strategies are a very real thing. If you go into debt collection where it's very hard to get hold of someone, and that's where we came from. If you're going into a utilities business where you're just trying to make an appointment for an engineer, they don't know what a contact strategy is. And the uplift is very real. So what would people need to start thinking about and how you implement this into your strategy is your data. So if you've got high intent data or someone's been on your website, filled out a form, an example number is, if you bring that person back within 5 minutes versus 1 hour, it's 30 times more likely for the person to answer. But how many people look at how fast we call from intent data? They don't. Then you have signaling. So 80% of people are more likely to answer the phone if they know the number that's calling them. So a pre-SMS can work, but you have to start trying different things. Time of day calling significantly increases connect rates. So if you're calling people and your contact centers are used to calling people just when they feel like they need to, you've got to rotate the time of day you're calling, the number you're calling from, and so on. And that will increase your outbound connect rate significantly. And what's not happening is contact centers traditionally are not evolving if they're not from this sector. So outbound, it is a challenge. We're hearing about it a lot. It's going down. But the actual connect rate over the lifetime hasn't shifted. So if I've got 100 people I need to contact, if you do all these things, you will still be able to speak to 70 of them. Because Bob, who used to put you through to voicemail, who's now got Apple call screening, he was never going to answer anyway. But the other 70 do, but you have to work on that much harder than you've ever done before. Moment 2, so the second one was when AI takes over. So we're all using AI. It's transformational. Most businesses have adopted it. The statistics on the left show you, and I think we're all working with clients that are implementing AI in some way or some form. But what the consumer is telling us is there's still a bit of mistrust there. So they're happy to use AI, and that number's on the up year on year. It's gone up this year from last year. So 87% believe they are interacting with AI, where actually 22% of the time they're not. And disclosure is important to them. And the challenge isn't the AI because it's getting better, it's when to use it and when's the best time to use. Because all the statistics that we've got in the data all tell us that though it's positive, so say 60% of people, I think you quoted before, don't like using AI, but that means 40% do. And the surprising stat we found from the data at the bottom, and this was backed up by a recent deployment we did, is that 59% of consumers, when in financial difficulty, preferred AI because they didn't feel judged. And we launched an AI product into America this year, and it was a financial charity, and the containment rate was 98%. So it backs that up, where our assessment would have been that it probably wouldn't have been that high. However, if it's complicated, users don't like using AI, and what we're all doing now is forcing people at the front of our contact center through AI and creating that bad experience from the offset. And when we do that, the consumers are telling us they're not happy. So consumers are happy with AI, and what we need to get right in the moment is once we're there, does it work? So are we getting the right outcomes? We know where it works, the simple cases, but we shouldn't be sending people to an AI at the front of the contact center if it's an emergency or a context query. Because even if you can solve the problem, that doesn't mean the customer's happy. And then the areas we're still getting wrong is we're treating the human agent like an offset when AI fails, when it should be treated like an escalation point. And that point needs to be handled really well. So we need to be sending, you touched on before, 15 minutes in an AI, that when that goes through to an agent, they've got the summary and they're up to speed. So the handoffs are really critical. The technology typically can do it, but the consumers are still feeling failed. And again, there's that disconnect for the capability of systems versus what's actually being adopted and used. Next moment is when we actually have calls with our customers, and we've got those important moments, we're having conversations. I was writing this slide last week and going through it, and my wife was upstairs, and she was having a half-hour conversation, and I went up, what you talking about? And she was trying to renew her mobile phone contract. Half an hour in, she was being sold a contract that was twice the amount, and that gave her more data, SMS, and voice calls that she didn't need. Half an hour in. Eventually, when she finally got them to do a lower value contract, they then proceeded to try and sell broadband and headphones. My immediate response was, put the phone down, go somewhere else, cancel your contract. So why in these high-value conversations, and that statistic at the bottom is really telling, 56% of consumers are avoiding contact companies because they expect a bad service. So why is it, when I phone up to get my mobile phone contract renewed, I am expecting to have a bad service from my provider and I'll probably end up cancelling? With all the technology we've got available to us, we've got real-time analytics, we've got real-time guidance, we've got coaching that feeds back into contact centres, we're still failing on the moments that matter. And that hasn't changed in my time in the contact centre space. In 25 years, the two main complaints from customers are long queue times and getting to a resolution that they are happy with, not the resolution that we think is positive. Because in that example, she did renew her contract, so it was a green tick on the board, like I said before, but the experience was bad, and we probably will cancel next time around. So next. So all I want to do is leave, I am good on time, yes, leave it with 3 key points. And the story is never true for the first one. If you are overly scripting agents and you are using technology to drive a narrative, then you have to be wary of that narrative you are driving. We keep saying that use AI to automate, but when it goes through to the people, use the high-value cases and let them do their jobs. Yet we're going further and further away from it, where we're forcing down scripts and outcomes the business wants, not what the consumer wants. We have to question the call. Is outbound the right method? Are we thinking about our contact strategies across all channels? Are we doing it the right way? And are we driving those engagement and those connect rates up the best we can? And then the last question I've got in the room, we've all been there. We all sell these systems. We've all just spent 15 minutes talking about how consultancy matters. But when we're on the other end of those experiences and they're not positive, are we advising, and we're brave enough to advise clients, that the technology isn't always about reducing operational efficiencies, it's about driving customer experience. And it always has been, but it seems to be getting lost as a message, and it should starting to come back. Like you've said, and the stats and the data are showing, agent counts are actually on the up. We work with lots of contact centres, and not many are looking to reduce headcount. They're looking to scale, but not linearly. And they are looking to drive those improved customer outcomes. So, bang on time. Thank you. I will leave it with a bit of a plug. I am Ben Booth. We are at MaxContact. We are at booth 4. So if you do want to talk to us about the mid-market, this report, so if you do want to download the report, the consumer report, please just scan that QR code. It is a great report. There's lots of data in there. And anything else, we're at booth 4, and come and say hello. There you go. Thank you. Yeah,